December.
Happy December.
Got Christmas socks on. Woo. It's been a while.
I should probably shut that down because of the dishwasher.
Yeah, I don't remember the last time I did a Facebook Live. It's been a long time, and we're out of practice.
Yes, we are.
I don't think we ever got in practice.
No.
But we're gonna try and do a quick one, which never works. But my laptop's not plugged in, so it might decide for us that it has to be short.
Alexa, set a timer for 15 minutes.
15 minutes. Starting then.
So today we're going to talk about big babies.
Big babies or suspected big babies?
Bit of both.
Okay, where to begin?
That they're awesome.
Oh,
Small babies
that didn't take long.
are awesome too. She knows. It's not that she doesn't know. She just doesn't care.
You shift your butt.
There's a lot of fear surrounding big babies, as if there's this optimal weight or size for babies to be. But if there is a true average, that means that half of babies are going to be bigger than the average anyway. Maybe we should talk about what the fear of big babies actually is.
Yeah. Yeah, what comes up when women are told that their babies are big or going to be big?
They're insinuating that it's going to be too big to come out.
Yeah.
that the woman has selected a partner, and together they will produce a baby that is too big to actually exit the woman's body safely.
Which is bonkers.
It's absolutely bonkers. We wouldn't be here. None of us would be having this conversation. None of us would be listening. None of us would be using Facebook if that was real and true. We'd all have been wiped out. Half of us would have been, because half of our babies would have been too big. Nonsense.
Yeah, so that's one of them. That your baby's going to be too big to come out of your vagina. Which is bullshit.
If the woman is healthy and doesn't have some kind of gestational diabetes situation where the baby's growth gets out of control.
Mm-hmm. The other thing that comes up is shoulder dystocia.
Yeah.
So I guess that is kind of the same thing, because they're saying that your baby's going to be too big to get out without difficulty. And shoulder dystocia is something that sounds super scary, but the way that they try to manage that is illogical. So if their fear is that your baby's shoulders are going to get stuck, the way that they treat that or try to avoid that is to put you in a hospital and not meet any of your basic needs. So doing everything that makes it more likely that birth will be difficult and will take longer, and it often comes with restricting your movement if you're being monitored or induced, and none of that makes sense for needing to be able to move. That's the key thing with shoulder dystocia is the woman feeling able to and being able to move in whatever way feels right for her, because there's no like magical answer. It's about what that woman's instincts are telling her to do, because that's what's going to shift things. And if you're in a hospital or you're being told where to be, what position to be in, it's going to massively hinder your connection with your intuition and your freedom to act upon it. I think we could talk a bit about the information that we have on shoulder dystocia and how it's all hospital based. Like, that says a lot. I don't think there's any studies out there on shoulder dystocia in free birth? Is it?
Nor will there ever be.
No.
The website Evidence-Based Birth looks into stuff sometimes. And one of the things about suspected babies on there is that they say, but again, it's skewed because it's in hospital. So keeping that in mind, they found that shoulder dystocia is just as likely with a baby who is small as one who is big. But big babies are made the scapegoat rather than the woman's treatment being to blame, because when a woman's baby is expected to be large, and I think the current guideline on what large is £9.12. That's what large is. Obviously, it changes because it's all very arbitrary. But when a woman's baby is suspected to be large, then they treat her with even more of a fear-based approach. So when it's like, we need to be in hospital because your baby's going to be big, your baby could get stuck. So we need to restrict your movement. Just in case, we need to give you a cannula in case you need to have surgery. There's all these just in cases, and then the just in case creates the perfect storm for a baby not to be able to get out easily. The woman's often forced onto her back, where the coccyx goes into the pelvis and takes up 30% of the space. She's immobile. The pelvis is dynamic and will move as the woman moves and takes up different positions. But when a woman is kind of coerced to be on her back, then the baby's got less space to move, and then to be born has to go kind of like downhill to come uphill. The woman's obviously not feeling great because she's on her back. She feels stranded. She feels watched and observed. There's already a high level of intervention. The people around her are already scared. So none of those basic needs that Amy was talking about can be met. It's not even possible. And then when there's immobilizing pain relief, or when the pain is caused in the first place by the fears of the people around it being projected, then there's pain relief that's immobilizing. There are other aspects which are immobilizing and demoralizing a lot of the time. And then, then her baby gets stuck because the baby can't move. And it's not because the baby is big, it's because because the woman's been treated with fear and a complete lack of understanding of how women's bodies work in labour. And then when the baby's born, it's because the baby was too big. It's not because nobody thought of or tried to meet that woman's needs. It's not, the blame isn't placed where it belongs. Those basic needs are so easy to meet in the right environment, and they cost nothing. But you need to give birth in this place where your basic needs cannot be met. And then when they can't, and there's this cascade of interventions, then the big baby is blamed instead of the system.
What a shit system.
Yeah.
So the things that bring up those fears of suspected big babies, or I guess the way that they measure your baby, they do that with a tape measure sometimes, and often that leads to growth scans because they say that that's more accurate, even though they're incredibly inaccurate. But the only measurement that matters is you and how you feel. You've lived in your body your whole life and your whole pregnancy, so you know if your bump has changed or is growing or isn't growing. Like, you know that. You don't need tape measures or ultrasounds to tell you that. But each time those measurements are taken and they're not accurate, and they're based on the charts based on due dates, which are also not accurate. It gives an opportunity to scare women. So I suppose thinking of or remembering that any kind of measurement is an intervention of sorts and has the risk of fear and leading you down that path of more and more fear based on inaccurate information. So it's worth thinking about what those risks are and how that might impact you and your pregnancy before you go to that appointment or say yes to that scan. Because as I'm sure you know, because we say it all the time, you don't have to do any of those things. You don't have to engage in any of it if you don't want to. It has to be beneficial to you. So weigh up every single step of that process and what it might lead to. Growth scans are a huge one because so often they lead to induction, which is another way that they try to manage babies that they think are too big or too small, despite the fact that that's against the NICE guidelines. And logically, it doesn't make any sense. But that also has the same impact of immobilizing and making it harder for the woman to follow her instinct and move in a way that feels right, and again skewing the statistics. So it's it looks, when you see it from the outside, it looks like a really clear path, and we often speak to women who were induced and it more often than not involved growth scans, and before that it was a tape measure. So each one of those measurements leads to the next intervention. So yeah, be aware of that. Is there anything else?
Yeah, there's an expectation that big babies, it hurts to give birth to big babies more than to small babies, and that is not my experience, and it's not what I've heard from other women. Thinking about women whose babies were born very small, whether they survived or not. When you hear those women's birth stories, they describe the birth as being agonizing. The babies are very small, they can't participate in the birth as much, and also the woman is afraid and she doesn't feel like she can let go in lots of situations like that, especially where the baby doesn't make it. No,
she can see herself.
Yeah. He's a very handsome cuddle boy.
It's you.
Just so small babies can be painful to give birth to. No, we do not. Put it away. Small babies can be painful to give birth to because of how we feel and how we're made to feel. And big babies can be really easy to give birth to because they can participate more, they're stronger. Studies show that they are more intelligent as they get older. I'm biased because I have big babies. I had
smart big babies.
Yeah. I had 19-hour labour with my first one, and he was £10.6, and it was hell, and I was in hospital. That's not coincidence. And the second one was £10.8, and it was completely painless. So
and you weren't in hospital.
I wasn't in hospital, and there were no midwives there to make me feel observed or scared. So I know that's just one example, but do you hear stories of women giving birth where their basic needs are met and saying that big babies are more painful than small babies?
Nope. I've heard many times actually that the opposite, like you said, that bigger babies felt easier, which logically makes some sense.
Yeah. Well, women sometimes say they can feel their babies kind of like push off from inside them, which I think is really cool.
Like a launch pad.
Yeah. What was the other misconception? Maybe you talk a little bit more about induction, actually, because your baby's too big. So the insinuation there is that your baby's growing too fast inside you, and there needs to be some intervention that stops the pregnancy
Because they'll just continue to grow.
until they're as big as you, and then they burst out your mouth. I think the
As a
logic is that.
10-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah. No logic. No logic at all. And then, yeah, as we said, like those interventions, the way that they try to manage that birth is, by forcing it to happen sooner than it needed to, which, as we all know, comes with many complications and means that you have to be in hospital and will most likely need stronger pain relief where you're then immobilized.
Alexa, stop.
Oh no.
It's okay.
And it all kind of comes to the same end. Like, it's the way that women are treated as a problem that needs to be fixed. It all leads to them being immobilized and their basic needs not being met, and that often ends in instrumental birth or cesarean, and it didn't need to, because it's not an emergency. They're creating emergencies. She's purring so loud.
She's very loud. May snoring.
Maybe it's time.
Maybe it's time.
Any final words?
Let's just do a quick recap. Fear of big babies is what creates interventions, not actually big babies. Interventions are justified by implying that the woman will stay pregnant forever with a baby who is exponentially growing.
Mm-hmm.
And the baby won't be able to be born because it will be too large. So the woman's baby, this is like a twofer, because it gets to blame the two things that it wants to blame the most, which is the woman's body for, I don't know, not being big enough to birth the baby, and also the baby being too big to be born. Nope.
No, it's fascinating. We stare at ourselves too, but
we also don't do the things that she does to the camera.
Yeah.
Those are the basic premises, but the antidote to that is if you just check in with yourself, and if your bump is getting bigger, your clothes are getting tighter, your bump is like changing shape, and you feel fine and you feel like your baby's fine, then you kind of check in with yourself and think, what interventions can help me? Like, what's going to give me information that I want? What's going to give information to other people that I don't want that will affect me? Because of course it will. If you feel like your baby's growing fine and you're told by somebody with authority, perceived authority, that your baby's not growing fine, then what does that do then to your intuition? Mm. What does that do then to your energy? End of pregnancy is a time to go within, to really listen, to be with yourself while your brain rearranges itself so that you can be a mother, if not for the first time, then for the second or third or many times over. Drop into that, be there, try to resist that urge to do the right things, because the right stuff is just invented and it's not serving us. Mm. So it's completely okay just to drop into yourself, put your hand on your belly, have a deep breath, connect. You're doing it all the time subconsciously. You don't need to make special effort to connect. I don't spend 5 minutes a day, or an hour a day, just being with myself to see if I'm well. I do that all day, every day, and meet my needs. So you're already doing that. You don't need to set aside special time with special people, though it can be nice. Mm. I'm just rambling now.
No, you're not rambling. I did just think of one thing, though, is that I think we hear a lot, well, I went because I knew everything was fine and I just wanted them to get off my back. So assuming that the measurements would also say that everything's fine. And logically, yeah, but it doesn't work like that, because they'll do the scan and it may or may not come out as fine because it's inaccurate. So it might not align with what you're thinking anyway, but it might. And even if it does, they'll say, your baby's fine for now, we'll do another one in a few weeks, until there's something that they can say is wrong. And hello. And even that in itself it's you not listening to your intuition, because you're wanting to confirm, you're wanting some kind of technology to confirm that what your intuition is telling you is right, and that's second guessing yourself and undermining your intuition. So even that comes with risks, like even if it does say what you're expecting it to say,
This time.
Unlikely because it's inaccurate.
A broken clock is right twice a day. And if you go to a growth scan and your growth scan says that your baby is the size that you feel it is, your baby is growing, great. That's not a sign that you should have one again in a week.
Yeah.
Because if that one says that your baby has shrunk, which they say that, and they say it with a straight face. They say, yeah, your baby's smaller this week than it was last week, so you need an induction.
Yeah, and the reaction isn't, oh, maybe our measurements are a bit wrong. It's like, yeah,
this whole system is built on lies.
Yeah, that's never the conclusion. But it should be.
Yeah. And so many women do have inductions and cesareans for big or small babies. We're getting to small babies now. So, they say that they find it funny that their baby was actually the right size, or like an average size.
But they did it just in case. And it's like, yeah, but your whole birth has been derailed because of bullshit, and that's not okay.
Do you feel like let's continue because she's sat on you?
No, I'll just stay here. You can bring me the basket of water.
She looks so relaxed and nice.
But also very stiff, like, look at her.
Yeah.
She moves as one, like,
That's how I relax.
I can't press the button now.
I'll press the button. Right, it's been good. Let's do another one again soon.
Okay, cool.
Bye, everyone. Where's the button?
Oh, at the bottom.
Stop cam.
Oh no. Wait, exit full screen. We're still here. And then end broadcast.
Oh yeah, that's the one.
Now you all know how to use
Bye.
StreamYard.